Oh, baby. Let's just say the greatest free-to-play account to ever be born into the existence of the multiverse of video gaming realm has officially made it to Kyber and Star Wars Galaxy. And you may be saying, Arnold, it's because of the Beskar Crocs. And it probably is partly that. Well, I want to share my tips and tricks with you. What am I using on offense? How am I countering every single Galactic Legend? Some important modding nuances to help you get as high as you can inside of Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who have played the game know this feeling. How many times I have fought up against people with literally double my account size. This is one of my opponents I fought. How do you deal with this problem as much as possible? How have I taking on the challenge? Well, let's go hop on over, give you a little bit of tour, and show you how I make this cookie crumble, baby. Kyber 4 is where we're finally at here. It's a great way to start off 2024, and we just unlocked Jabba, so imagine what we're going to be able to do. So as you're going to see, we're going to need to expand my defense a little bit. Whew, it's going to be a world of pain, let me tell you. But the strategy that I've utilized to get my account in the Kyber, especially since I'm fighting big accounts, they're not going to have a hard time with my smaller roster on defense. We've definitely adopted more of an offensive-heavy approach with the hope that ships will give us a hold that we need to cross that finish line. So now I've only made the Kyber with 2 Galactic Legends. I know now I have Jabba, but unfortunately we weren't able to use Jabba this current season, but we will starting forward. So although Jabba's here, he wasn't really any help to getting us to the finish line. But as you can see, otherwise besides Jabba, we're not really putting anything too crazy on defense. I know we have unfilled slots. I know we'll get around to it at some point. But there are a few ways to try to catch your opponent off guard. Try to snipe some banners. Maybe a dash run dart. And funny enough, I can't emphasize this enough as well. This team, my Qui-Gon, my cheesy Qui-Gon team with my Anakin I built it for Sith Eternal, you'd be surprised how many holds this get, and sometimes that's all I need. Just one hold, and we'll get across that finish line. But on the back wall, I also have a Captain Rex team, and this, with the Captain Rex Omicron and just my Phoenix crew, low gear, this at times tricks people out, especially opponents that are trying to solo most of my teams. Sometimes that gets me that hold perfectly to set us up. And then really what I'm really relying on is people dropping on Executor. Not everyone understands the nuances, the nooks and crannies of getting through an Executor, especially when you're working your way through a Rhodium into Kyber. And getting holds on the Executor has also been pivotal for me as well. But the most important thing is, how are we taking on these massive rosters? And this is where I want to showcase my offense. We're not quite at the point where we can rely on defense to do too much for us, but we're getting there. This year, if you've been following my free-to-play account, we just unlocked Jabba. Probably could use Jabba on a defensive standpoint. We also are going to be working towards Jedi Master Luke and Profundity this year. Those are kind of the core things, and maybe towards Leia at the end of the year. I just wanted to give you a quick tour of pretty much what my offense looks like, and then I'm going to go kind of into more specific matchups for every Galactic Legend. Because at the end of the day, when you're fighting big rosters, you need a game plan. And if you don't have a plan, like I famously said many times, you're planning like a noob. Let's get to it, the offensive side of things. So first thing I have, we're going to show different Sith Eternal perimeter Kylo Ren lines depending on what I'm trying to beat. But overall, I have my 2 Galactic Legends that I've been using. Until now, we have a third one that's going to be coming around. But we made the Kyber without 3 Galactic Legends. We're going to use the perimeter Kylo Ren on some capacity, whether it's a solo or help me bust through a bunch of Galactic Legends. Sith Eternal in a similar fashion, we might need a solo or bust through. Pretty much his main counter is going to be Jedi Master Kenobi, as we're going to showcase. Star Killer, fundamental. We're primarily taking out Rey teams and a couple other things in between, sometimes Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. Traya, now you're going to see me show a couple different things at Traya. Again, some people just want, I just want the one team. If you're going to try to beat these big rosters, you need to be flexible. You need to know when to break up teams, when to merge teams, when the situation calls for it. But this is one of my other powerful teams that we utilize, Traya with Savage. We have Imperial Troopers. You'd be blown away how many times I've been able to punch up with this low gearist trooper team, taking down Relic 9 Darth Revan team. Commander Luke Skywalker, very great for working through General Anakin Skywalker, and a variety of other teams out there. We have Bounty Hunters. We have a couple different Bounty Hunter variants depending on what I'm trying to take down, but this is generally what I use on average. This team right here for fast contract, insta-kill, Zam Omicron, baby, it gets work done. And then we see some other teams that I usually don't rely on as the big opening plays, but at times I'll pull these teams out, like a Phasma team, Jedi Knight Revan, a Darth Revan, and at times, if the situation allows, we'll try to get a Wampa solo out, whether it's an Iden, Mon Mothma, other teams of that sort. And then Savage will press as well, could solo a variety of teams, sometimes like General Grievous. It's kind of like a second Wampa for the most part. It's great when he could solo Commander Luke Skywalker. I also got a Geonosian team. We're not really using a full Geonosian team for what I'm trying to do on offense, but I will sometimes pull my Geonosian Brood Alpha. And that's where I want to talk about the game plan for going up against Galactic Legends. Now, what I'm about to show you is by no means a comprehensive list and how to beat every single Galactic Legend. We have videos out there that's shown this. We also have resources online that'll show you this as well. Let's start with Jedi Master Kenobi. Generally, the biggest struggle, and that's one of the most common major struggles I see, Jedi Master Kenobi, especially for smaller accounts, it can be tough. This right here is what gets the job done for me, and I'm at a point where I'm pretty much at 100% consistency. The main issue is this definitely gets expensive on the banners. The thing I want to point out here, though, is I want to talk about a couple of the mods. The most important thing is the relationship between Thrawn as well as armor. What I'm asking for you guys here, if you're going to pull this counter off, the whole trick is here, you want to make your armor as fast as she can be. I have mine at 350, but then you got to take in consideration Sith Eternal Lead. With Sith Eternal Lead, dark side allies are going to get 20 speed. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make Thrawn 21 points slower at minimum behind armor, because the combo that we want to be able to pull off here, because Thrawn's gonna be technically, 300, what is that, 40 speed or something like that, I don't know. Anyways, we want to make sure we try to get the combo going where Thrawn and armor, they kind of tag team off one another. Armor's gonna get out there, go ahead, get the armor shred cooking for us, and then what we're gonna want to do afterwards is then we're gonna want Thrawn to shortly after come on in, pass the turnaround. My armor's 350, Thrawn is 340, so we always know armor's gonna go first, Thrawn second, pass the turnover, and then we want to give Sith Eternal the 3 stacks of Beskar through earn your signet, which gives us the 100% counter chance. And more importantly, if you can get that 3 stacks in Sith Eternal, you're basically guaranteed to beat Jedi Master Kenobi because you can't be critically hit. So for my roster, this is the only counter that I have available to me. If I had Night Sisters, maybe I could do like a Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, Night Sisters. We do now have Jabba, so moving forward, I could have maybe a cleaner counter to Kenobi using Jabba the Hutt, so that's going to be nice to have. But the way I got the Kyber is through the utilization of this team right here. Lord Vader. I don't see too many Lord Vaders during my climb, but I've seen them once in a while, and generally I will beat Lord Vader with one of a variety of compositions. This is probably the one I would go for if I want to beat Lord Vader, and I don't need Sith Eternal to beat a Master Kenobi. Kind of the same drill. You want to go ahead, give the armor, give the tank tech over to Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. You're going to take down Lord Vader, no problem. But in this situation, let's say I need to have Sith Eternal do his job against Kenobi. Well, then my other option here is going to bring in a First Order team that'll pump lots of turns over to Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. Actually, I should probably change this up here. I probably should put a First Order Stormtrooper. You want to keep passing turns over to Supreme Leader Kylo Ren to just absolutely nuke the opposing Lord Vader team before they have a chance. Really weaken down, build up Supreme Leader Kylo Ren's ultimate charge. And one of the most important things to modding the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren that so many people ignore, you want to make your First Order officer slightly faster than General Hux. So I'll show you my speeds that I have on General Hux. You want Hux to be the fastest member on your team, outside of Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, of course, because you want to open up with marching orders, which gives a turnover to Supreme Leader Kylo Ren and allows them to get offense up, and it's going to do a massive opening play. And then you want Hux to come in and take a turn after officer to reset Supreme Leader Kylo Ren's cooldowns, because you want to use Furious Onslaught back to back. You're going to get fast ultimate charge, big explosive damage, and you're going to see me use this type of lineup for other things out there. Let me show you the speed. That's on my Hux. We have 291. We've also started developing throughout our course of getting Jabba. We've developed the course of building up a bounty hunter lineup. I don't know if I would 100% rely on this to beat high relic Lord Vaders, but it's a good start if I need to piecemeal something and then clean it up with the Imperial Trooper team at the very end. Or worst case scenario, I could use Traya to at least multi-shuttle Lord Vader, kill off everyone, leave Lord Vader solo, clean it up with an Imperial Trooper lineup. Generally, Lord Vader is the least of my concerns. However, a big concern that I've had is Jabba the Hutt. We've seen a lot of pushes for Jabba. Jabba's a very good Galactic Legend, top 3 GL in the grand scheme of Galaxy of Heroes. Generally, GL-wise, I wouldn't use Sith Eternal. I know you could use Sith Eternal to beat Jabba. Not my forte with it. But I do enjoy Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. This, kind of like what we just said, is going to be great. Just keep pumping turn meter through Kylo, keep passing turns. You're going to blow apart the Jabba team. Sometimes I have the opportunity of using Star Killer, but the problem is Bausch's Leia's Deadly Bluff really slows this team down. But once the Deadly Bluff finally drops off, that's when we'll start rolling. Not my primary use for Star Killer, but if the situation needed it, I could give it a stab. And then there's Traya. I can, again, like Lord Vader, use Traya, multi-shot everyone out, and then leave Jabba solo, clean it up with something. Now, luckily, I've only encountered one Leia throughout my experience in a row. Maybe one or two, not many, not more than one handful. And though that's the more tricky team, it's probably the best defensive team that we have in Galaxy of Heroes right now. If push came to shove, I could try to use Sith Eternal, on the Leia, but then that kind of leaves me vulnerable on my Jedi Master Kenobi. I could also try a First Order team, kind of similar, like we said, just keep passing turns over to Supreme to Kylo Ren, try to blow out as much as you can. But I think moving forward, the good news is we have Jabba the Hutt. So if we do see a Leia, we'll have Jabba in the pocket. Jabba is one of the more prominent counters towards Leia. Sith Eternal Emperor. Generally, we see him a lot, pops up a lot, but not the most difficult for us to handle here. We can either do a Sith Eternal solo, you link up Sith Eternal, link up someone else, you'll get all the Alter Charge, they'll get nothing. Sith Eternal on the opposing side loses all their protection, easy money. Supreme to Kylo Ren generally can solo a Sith Eternal. At times, depending on the lineup, Wampa can solo the opposing Sith Eternal. Savage Opress can also, at times, depending on the lineup, can solo an opposing Sith Eternal. And then we have other options. So here's some interesting counters that you may not have, you might not be privy to. I sometimes could use Imperial Troopers. It might be a little strong because we don't have the highest of relics here. But with this lineup here, if you throw in Malik, this is the reason why Malik. So you might be like, why is he here? Well, let me tell you. Malik, if you remember, he shuts down bonus turn meter on opposing Sith characters. So the nice thing is here, wherever the heck this thing is, what is it, the Gnawing Terror, right? Yeah, I think it's Gnawing Terror. Yeah, Sith enemies can't gain bonus turn meter. So when you're fighting up against Sith Eternal, if you plug in your Malik with Imperial Troopers, you could roll your turn meter train. The opponent Sith will not be able to, and this could be a nice counter if you don't have any GLs or any solo potential. This is what my backup is. And then again, I also have Star Killer if I needed to, but again, I have better counters than Sith Eternal. Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. Generally not that difficult to beat on defense with the tools that we have afforded to us. Usually we could just do Sith Eternal, but at times Sith Eternal, most situations are going after Jedi Master Kenobi. So this right here is my Jedi Master Luke counter. I get max banners with this. It's a beautiful combination. Only down to this, I'm putting two teams in one. I'm taking a Traya team and I'm taking my Savage solo, throwing it in. Darth Vader, I don't really worry too much about him. He's fine being on this team. But this right here, you have so much durability, you get so much turn meter, so much survivability, and then Vader just goes to town, ability blocking all the Jedi. Such a clean counter. Worst case scenario, we do have a Darth Revan. He's not quite ready yet. I mean, we're only 5 million, of course. You can say, gear up that, gear up that. I'm working towards it. We're 5 million GP. People expect me to have a 12 million GP roster and a 5 million GP roster. He's on the agenda at some point. He's just not high priority for me at the moment. Until I maybe get Darth Malgus, then I'll become a much higher priority. But I still get work done with my Gear 12 Darth Revan. Don't get it twisted, but we would do Blast Tech Up mod on Darth Revan, Tank Tech over on Savage or something of that sort. And then you just hope that Darth Revan just keeps the Jedi Master Luke team under perpetual fear. Only complaint is, my Revan and Bastila, they can get sneezed away potentially. Rey, another very common Galactic Legend we see, and it's giving even more common with Lightspeed bundles out there. We usually have no issue. Star Killer, the bread and butter counter. Sometimes we throw a Sith Eternal at it. Worst case scenario, I'll throw a First Order at it. I generally try to stay away from the First Order battle because those are very low banner wins. And speaking of Spirit of Kylo Ren, the last thing I want to talk about is how to beat him. Sometimes I can make Star Killer work. If there's no Hux on the opposing team, game over, man. We got it. Sometimes there is a Hux, and you have to kill off Hux, get the advantage off him, and then you can start rolling your turn meter. We could sometimes do a Supreme Kylo Ren mirror match. If we were going to use Sith Eternal, kind of the same counter as Kenobi, this is what I would utilize. Worst case scenario, there's two things. There's actually one more counter I could have put in here. If there's no Hux on the opposing Supreme Kylo Ren team, Imperial Troopers gets the job done because there's nothing stopping their turn meter, baby. But we also have the foundation of a Supreme Kylo Ren counter with Jedi Knight Luke, Jedi Knight Revan. The armor really helps out because if we can give the armor over to Jedi Knight Revan and Jedi Knight Luke, it's a nice, solid win right there. And then finally, the thing that gets slept on so much. I know the game's about characters. That's what drew in most people. They want to play with Darth Vader and Luke. But really, at the end of the day, where the boys get separated from the men is where it comes down to ships. I'll just say this. I always get questions. Oh, I don't know what to work on. I don't know what to work on. If you do not have ships, work on ships. There are times I just get this bug in my mind. I'm like, I just want to spend a full year perfecting all of my fleets. And especially going to Kyber, you can never go wrong with more ship investments. So many wins come down to the wire on ships. Someone drops an Executor, I'm coming in for the win because my counter is locked in. So that's why this year we're working towards Profundity as the next big capital ship we're going to get. Yes, I have Executor. It's done wonders. We have 4 and 5 stars. CG, fix your game. Waiting years to get a 7-star capital ship does not feel good, especially for old capital ships. I digress. We can use Executor to beat Radis's Profundity, I should say. I don't do Executor mirror matches, but most of the time it's on defense trying to get me hold because I generally have a better handle on beating Executors than my opponent. We've done a lot of work over the past couple months building up my Chimera. We recently unlocked the TIE Interceptor, and now that we're finished up with Jabba, I'm building up my TIE Defender, the Iden Versa. I already have it at 7 stars, but I need to get Iden Versa to higher gear to really benefit from it. This is my Beloved's counter. This is my Negotiator counter. If need be, we can also counter our Executors if I needed another option at my disposal. And, you know, it's going to be a bit tricky, but you do have some pieces that you could use to beat the profundity. And then we have the Finalizer. This has been my bread and butter to beat Executors for the longest time. I had this locked in. I get some pretty solid banners. I rarely lose my Finalizer versus Executor. One of the biggest payoffs from the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren grind. This is what I have right here. Of course, I'm going to work towards profundity, as I said. I would love to get Malevolence Negotiator, but alas, that's just the state of Galaxies that we're in. There's so much to do, so little time, and it takes time. Whatever projects you pick up, it takes a bit to get operational. I hope this video was helpful for all you guys today. Again, I just wanted to show you can play Galaxies and enjoy it. Yes, the game is pay to play. Yes, you're going to be behind, but if you come in with the mentality of enjoying your own personal journey, this game is one of the most fun games I've ever played at the end of the day. So with these tips and tricks, I hope you guys can get to the finish line, join me in Kyber, and for all those other folks that might be in Kyber, working your way towards Kyber, feel free to drop some other stuff down below. This is just what I was doing to get where I'm at now. And speaking of that, why don't we go ahead, hit up the Kyber Club dance floor, give your guys a round of applause, and I hope we can get more and more people in the club, baby. Let's go ahead, party tonight away!